This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires Belief Cast. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Veracity Networks, and my good friend, Drew Peterson. Thank you so much for your belief in me. I'd like to thank the listeners for tuning in again today. And I'm so excited because today we have an amazing person. His name's Ty Bennett. Ty, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to hear his story. And a little background on Ty. At 21, Ty and his brother built a direct sales business to over $20 million in annual revenues, which is amazing. You've also been dubbed as one of the 10 coolest entrepreneurs in Utah. He's the author of 3 best-selling books. We talked about he's writing another one, actually, as we speak. He was featured as one of the top 40 under 40. He's the host of his own podcast called The Relevant. Is that right?
Relevant.
The Relevant. Hello. The Relevant Leadership Podcast. And the list goes on and on and on. He's developed a system and an organization that will help over 500 sales managers fine-tune their sales and leadership skills in over 37 countries. And there's just so much that he does. And I'm so excited to have you on. But probably last but definitely not least, he's a husband and a father, and he's passionate about helping other people and cultivate people to look at new ways of living their lives, and really just passionate about leadership in general.
Yeah, for sure.
So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, happy to do it. Excited to be on.
Thank you. Well, why don't we start with, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and about your family and a little bit about your childhood.
Okay. That's a question I don't get very often on these podcasts, right? We don't get to dive into the backstory, I guess. Usually starts at age 21 when I started the entrepreneurship journey, right?
Yeah.
So I was born into a family. I'm the middle child of 3. Older brother, who you mentioned, was a business partner of mine, and my younger sister, who actually now works for me in my leadership company as well.
Okay.
So I was born in Logan, Utah. My parents went to Utah State. And then when I was 5, we moved to Colorado, and my parents still live there. So I grew up in Colorado, in Littleton, just outside of Denver.
Right. Okay.
Good childhood, solid home. I feel like I was blessed with incredible parents. They taught me how to work hard. They taught me how to go after things, and they were kind of, my mom especially was the kind of parent that she is like the best support in the world. Like anything that I was going to do, she was just right there. Like, let's do it and we'll support you. Evidence of that, I feel like I was kind of entrepreneurial from the get-go. I don't know where that came from exactly, but like I always wanted to build a business or do things. And when I was 8 years old, my brother was 10, we decided we wanted to get a paper route. I don't even know where the idea came from. Somebody told us about it or something, right? And we signed up to do it. And the honest truth is the sacrifice was on my parents' part, mostly my mom's, right?
So Getting up early.
Yeah. So for the next 4 years, we delivered about 150 papers every morning at 5 a.m.
Wow.
And it taught me a lot about work ethic, right? You had to wake up every single morning, but just funny little things with that. I remember we got these bikes with bike racks, right? Like to put the papers in.
Yeah.
And that worked for like the first couple days. And then the Sunday paper came, and this is the Rocky Mountain News, which is like a main paper in Colorado.
Yeah, right.
And the Sunday paper is like 10 times the size of a normal paper with all the ads. And so we only fit like 4 in these racks. And we're doing the math as an 8-year-old going, this is going to take forever, right? So I rode down our little driveway. The bike tipped over, and I wasn't strong enough to pick it back up. And that's when my mom was like, all right, hop in the car. So I think every Sunday for 4 years, all through the winter, she drove us. Because it was rain, snow, shine, doesn't matter. I think it probably like half killed her to like deal with that. Like I can't even imagine. I think about that now, and I'm like, she was crazy. Yeah. But that's how she was, just with everything, which was awesome. So when I was involved in student government in high school or in DECA or on a sports team, she just was always like, let's go do it and jump in. So I feel really fortunate that way. I also grew up in an area where there were a lot of entrepreneurs around me. My dad was not an entrepreneur. He very successful he worked in the jewelry industry, mostly on the sales side, and was like VP of sales for some different companies and things. But we had friends and neighbors and people we knew through church that were entrepreneurial, and I kind of glommed on to a lot of those people and just looked at them as mentors and would kind of pick their brain about things. And so yeah, I lived in Colorado up until I graduated from high school, and then I served a 2-year mission for our church in Portugal, which was a total life-changing experience, just incredible learning and figuring out who I was, and had different leadership opportunities. And probably the mentor who has impacted me the most beyond my parents was the gentleman who was in charge of that mission, and we still have a close relationship today. And
that's great.
So yeah, it's just some interesting things. Then I moved to Utah after my mission to go to school to study entrepreneurship. That was always my plan. Yeah. And that's when my brother and I started a business together.
So you knew as a young age this is what you wanted to do, even when you were younger.
I don't know why exactly. I knew I liked working with people. I knew that I was ambitious and wanted to go and do something big.
Yeah.
My mom always used the saying, "Where much is given, much is required," and she would kind of push that with like, you've been given gifts and talents and opportunities, and you got to take advantage of that. And so in high school, I got involved in a business program called DECA. It's I don't know if you're familiar, but high school college students participate in different competitions, and I chose to compete in the entrepreneurship category, which really was a lot like Shark Tank, where you go and pitch your business idea to people pretending to be venture capitalists, right? And so I came up with an idea and worked with a friend of ours who actually had started a very similar business, kind of modeled it after his business idea. And I mean, the long story short of it, I ended up taking second in the nation in that competition in high school.
That's impressive.
And that really cemented the idea in my mind, like, I'm going to study entrepreneurship. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what that was exactly. Like, that's one of those fields you go into and you're like,
what is that?
This is a blank slate and you're going to become an expert in nothing. I don't know. Yeah, my brother came to me with a business idea while we were in school, and we started that, and eventually built it to be very successful, which kind of set the stage for me to follow other passions and speaking and things.
And I do want to talk about that, but I also want to stay back here in your childhood.
Okay.
I mean, you're obviously, when people know what you do, you're up on stage a lot, you're helping, you're coaching, you're being a mentor, you're showing what leadership really looks like. Very confident person. Were you always this confident kid? Like, even growing up, or did you have times where you didn't feel confident? I mean, because, I know every kid goes through their own little struggles here and there, but I was just curious what that was like for you.
For sure. I think I've always had a pretty strong sense of confidence. But I think confidence is interesting because in different areas, you're more confident than others, right? If you were to say, hey, go hang a picture on the wall, like, my confidence is gone. Like, I'm not handy at all,
it's
right?
Crooked.
For sure. Like, yesterday, literally, I was in my daughter's room and this picture is hanging like sideways, and I picked it off and looked at it and I was like, oh, well, and I put it back up sideways. Like, I just left it. So awesome. I think we all have areas in which we're confident and other areas. So, like, when it comes to speaking, I've never been afraid of it. Like I was missing
which is
that.
Pretty rare.
I was missing that natural emotion that should happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also will go back and watch video of me, and when I thought I was good, I was not good. Like, I've put in a lot of work to get much better at it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I think that there was always confidence there, but I was willing to jump into certain things, and because of that willingness, I think I was given a lot of opportunities.
Right.
Leadership opportunities and chances to speak in front of groups and different things. And so, I think it was there, but it's been developed as well, if that answers the question.
No, it does. And again, I think sometimes we're confident, like you said, in certain areas, other areas we're not so much. And obviously, going back to your story, you're saying even at a young age, you knew you kind of wanted to do your own thing. You kind of like that's the road you were taking. I'm sure your mission helped in it,
sure.
and then the DECA program and all those things probably were cultivating this along the way.
Yeah.
Your paper route,
Yeah, it's interesting when I look back at it now, right?
Mhm.
Like there's a culmination of things that you learn and kind of
Yeah.
mold you, right? And there's, different sports and different things that helped me learn tenacity and some of those types of things. And even in that and failure, right? Being cut from the high school basketball team, which was devastating.
Yeah.
I remember, actually, I have a very vivid memory of that experience with my dad because he came to that tryout and he just sat with me on the stairs and cried.
Wow.
Like, he didn't say much. We just sat there. Like, it just hurt, right?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
But I learned how to push through that and come back. And honestly, I don't remember if we had that conversation like, okay, are you going to work harder to make the team this next year or whatever? But I did.
Yeah, right.
I ended up, that was my freshman year and I ended up working hard and making the JV team. So yeah, I those are all little molding experiences,
Yeah.
the culmination of which I don't think we recognize unless we stop and look back.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm asking these questions, because again, when people know what you do now, they look at you up on the stage and you're doing all these amazing things and you've got your podcast and your books and videos and everything that you're doing, which is amazing. I think it's good for people to know that, you've had some struggles growing up and it's kind of like, but it happened for you. Like you said, you learned to push through those tough times. And I think that's a big lesson for all of us to hear that, because you could have given up on basketball. Like, well, you know what? I didn't make the team. Screw it. I'm not going to try out again, but you're like, no, I'm going to work harder and try to make it the next year. Right.
Yeah. A vivid kind of learning experience I had. I don't know if I was 8, 10 somewhere. It was before middle school. I remember that. There was a race in our community. I don't even know what it was for. In my mind, it was a 5K. It was probably like half a mile. I have no idea. But I remember running this race, and the end of the race, there was this hill that you're going up, and kind of all the parents were like waiting at the end, right?
Yeah.
And I was battling for first place with this other kid. And as we started to that hill, I was gassed. I was like, oh, I'm done. And he starts to pull away a little bit. And I remember my dad coming out from the side and starts running next to me.
Wow.
And he said, go catch him. He was like, push, you don't quit on this. Right. And,
wow.
And he pushed me and I did. I pushed through and ended up winning this race. Probably meant nothing. But the part that I remember about that, because I can tell you, I could walk you to the point in the street where this happened. We're walking home. I know exactly where it is on this road that leads to my parents' house. I remember my dad saying to me, you could be successful in anything you do in life because you've learned to push through the pain.
Wow.
And that lesson's always stuck with me because there's so many things that I've done. I mean, anything worthwhile, that there's points of pain that you want to quit, right? There's points that you're like, what am I doing?
Right.
And that those words always kind of come back, like, you push through the pain. Like that's how you get to the other side. And it's okay that it's supposed to be painful.
Yeah.
And so, I think, we all have those struggles, right? We all have those times. Sure. And to be honest, there's plenty of times that I have quit in that moment, right? When you look back at it and go, and we were talking about this before, and we're talking about, I am struggling to finish this book that I'm writing right now.
Yeah.
I just can't sit down and do it. I don't know what the deal is. And it's not like this is my first book. This is my 5th book. It's, I should be like a machine at this point.
Exactly.
But we all have those things that we have to figure out how to push through. And it's painful. As much as we want it to just be an easy process, it just never is.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's very well said. Thank you for sharing that part. So, coming back to, your brother came to you with this idea that you guys, obviously went forward. Talk a little bit about that experience. Obviously, it was a direct sales business, over 20 million annual revenues. Obviously, you grew it to be very successful.
Which sounds great in the end, right? But getting there,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a process. And getting there, there's so many ups and downs of building a business. And, we were young. I think we had a couple things that worked for us. One, we were young, and because of that, we realized we were kind of dumb, and so we were teachable, which helped, right?
Sure.
And we had some really good mentors that helped us in that process along the way, and had access to some people who knew how to coach us through it, which I think is such a helpful thing. And I mean, I say that because people listening to this, I love that they tune in to listen to you and to other people that you bring on, and that they're seeking guidance, right? I think we all need that.
Yeah.
And 3, I think we really learned how to work hard and, and push through and not quit on that. And, I'll be honest, there were times that I'm sure I wanted to quit and my brother kept me in it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then the reality of it is, it was hard to build a business together. I joke from
brother.
stage often, because I've since sold my half of the business to my brother. So from stage, I often joke and say, and now we have a great relationship, which is funny because it's actually true. Because you don't see things eye to eye. He takes credit for things that I want credit, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Just struggles of relationships, and you add a business to it, and it just is what it is. So it was an awesome learning experience.
Sure.
And the thing that I found for me that I think was important in the process of that business is what drove me was the leadership and people development side of the business. Okay. What I fell in love with was what I do now. And that's what happened is I built this business and went, this is not my passion. My passion is over here. And so I'm going to go pursue that. But yeah, so many lessons learned in that process, learning how to work with people, learning how to present, learning how to sell, learning how to lead, learning how to get people to develop a system that's duplicatable. Just all the business building lessons that, it took to get there.
Yeah. How did your brother handle it initially when you said, "Hey, I'm done. I'm going to go do this now"? Was that a difficult?
Great.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, ultimately,
I'm losing my partner here.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened with us. Is we had to, once we got to a certain point, our visions differed, right? He saw it going one way, and I saw something different, and so we had to find the balance of that. And for us, the balance was, you know what? You own this business and go make it your baby, and I'm going to go do this and make it mine, and let's cheer each other on, not be mad at each other for this process, right? And it's worked out. It's great, and awesome. I wish him all the best in that. And it's also changed the dynamic of our relationship, because as entrepreneurs, I'm very one-track minded. I don't know if you can relate to this at all.
Yeah, for sure.
But we have kids around the same age. And all we talked about was our business. Like the fact now that I talked to him last night, and we can talk about what his kids are up to and what their Christmas plans are and all those things, like that part of a relationship kind of got lost a little bit in the fact that we had a million things on our mind, and what's going on with this guy, and how's this situation, and what about these products, like why shipping delay, just everything.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and again, if that's what's come of this, that your relationship's even closer, what's that worth, right?
Well, in the end, I think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, you can always make money, find ways to do that. And I think that, I think it's been the right choice. I think it's been a good thing for both of us. And I think we both feel more fulfilled and confident and, secure in what we're doing. Right. Like it's who we are, and we can own that and be happy for each other. I think I feel like I've been having this conversation with my kids lately, and so it's fresh in my mind. Sure, but I'm a big believer that when you can't be happy for other people in their success, that there's something amiss, right? That you're not in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
And emotionally there's something going on.
Right.
When somebody has something that is good that happens to them and it hits us as hurtful or painful, that envy or whatever pops in,
right.
that should be like a gut check to us to go, okay, like I'm not seeing this the right way, because we should be able to cheer each other on. And I think we'd lost that a little bit for Scott and I. And I think we've found that, it was just the dynamic of all of those things. Right. And so, I think that's one thing that I always try and watch for myself is when other people succeed, I should be cheering for them and be completely excited. And if I'm not, there's something that is amiss with me.
Yeah. I can relate with that. I think I work with a lot of my clients where it typically means that they're uncomfortable in their own skin.
Yeah.
They feel insecure about themselves, or, man, they're successful. Why am I not there? And they feel hurt.
Well, it's easy to go to comparison.
It's
right?
easy to do that.
It's such a natural thing. I love the phrase you use, comfortable in your own skin, because I've coached a lot of speakers and CEOs and different people on presentation skills. And I think that's like the biggest key. And I don't know fully how to teach that, because there's a lot of emotional work that goes into that, right?
Sure.
But you can tell when somebody feels comfortable in their own skin. There's just an authenticity that you can connect with.
Exactly.
And when somebody's trying too hard or putting on a show, you can also tell that.
You can see right through that, yeah.
I think we have pretty strong BS meters, in us.
Yes, we do.
and even if we don't consciously go, that's not right, we just kind of pull away.
Yeah, we feel something's off, like you said.
For sure.
Well, no, that's awesome. So now, why don't you let our listeners know, what are you doing now, and explain exactly. I mean, you're doing a lot. You got a lot going on.
Too much, but 2020 shut it all down, so it worked out.
We can talk about that too, but let our audience know what you've been doing and what exactly you do now, and how you coach and cultivate and mentor leadership in people and in companies and organizations.
So in 2000, going back to kind of this break of like, I wanted to pursue something else. So in 2008-9, I founded another company called Leadership Inc., which is a speaking and training company, and really launched that in 2010 when I wrote my first book called The Power of Influence. So I started speaking, and that quickly became probably the main thing that I do.
Okay.
I give keynote speeches all over the world for different companies and organizations. Or I did, and then travel stopped.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, I usually, up until March of this year, would speak on multiple continents all over the U.S. about 100 times a year for different organizations. Wow. And I was thinking about that. I mean, just in, January and February of 2020, I spoke in, I don't know, probably 15 different states and a couple different countries. And then March happened, and I haven't traveled since, which is the weirdest experience for me. But we're doing a lot virtually. And, there's some definite benefits to virtual events, because I've been able to speak to groups all over the world that, maybe didn't have the budget or different things to make that happen, or to bring groups together that way. So I've written 4 books. In the intro, you said 3 best-selling books because one didn't do so good.
Hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah, it just happens. That's okay. Working on my 5th book. So I usually write a book about every year or 2.
Okay, great.
And so I'm kind of constantly always working on that, all in kind of the leadership communication realm. I mean, that's where I spend most of my time. So I speak to a lot of sales and leadership groups, and then I do some coaching and some mentoring for different organizations and specific leaders at times that reach out and want to do that. I'm currently putting together, I've never done this before, but in January, I'm going to be launching a masterclass that will be online, virtual. We'll limit the seating to like 30 people, and dive in deep on influence, building influential relationships, communicating with influence. So really content from The Power of Influence and The Power of Storytelling, 2 of my books, and then some additional stuff, and be able to be pretty interactive. I've now, I don't know if mastered is the right word, but we figured out how to use Zoom very effectively because I've done it a lot. And so, being able to put something together like that is something I've thought about for years. And to be honest, I was just so busy on the road all the time that I just kind of went, it's not going to happen. I launched a podcast, over a year ago, and I enjoy that. I enjoy these kinds of conversations, and for if nothing else, it gives me an excuse to connect with and have deep conversations with some people.
Yeah.
And it's a medium I really enjoy. I enjoy listening to podcasts. I enjoy finding great content that's out there. So yeah, all that keeps me busy. Plus I've got 5 kids.
Oh yeah.
A baby came this year. Yeah. We had a 14-year-old, 10-year-old, or 12-year-old, 10-year-old, and 7-year-old. And then we just added a newborn. I don't know why we can't family plan very well, but it's been kind of awesome.
Yeah.
This year, especially because I've been home, and the other kids are so much older, and get a chance to interact with him, in a different way. And so
a lot of helping hands, which is nice, right?
Yeah. So I mean, busy in all good ways.
Sure.
But this year's been a different animal for sure.
Yeah.
I think I can relate to, everybody else whose industry just like shut down, and who had to go, well, okay, what now? And honestly, March and April, we just kind of sat there and went, okay, is this the end of the world? Or are we just waiting this out for a couple months? Or what are we going to do here? And then we kind of realized we had to settle in. And in the event space, I think a lot of people realized, let's do some virtual events, and are finding their way. And luckily, I think what I'm seeing is 2021, there are more groups that are starting to say, okay, we're going to have some live events.
Right.
It might be different than what a live event used to look like for a little while or whatever, but I think I think we're all dying to be back together.
I know.
To interact and engage that way. But I also think virtual events are going to stay, and I miss the human connection.
Yeah.
But I also can appreciate that I can do a virtual event and be done in an hour, and I'm home.
Yeah, you didn't have to go to the airport.
Yeah.
Stay in the airport.
Yeah.
All that stuff. Right?
I don't know. There's times right now that I'm like, I just want to go get on an airplane. Like, I just miss it.
Sure.
But so Leadership Inc. continues to, just be what my focus is, and really trying to add value to individuals and organizations as much as I can. And typically I'm doing that in like a keynote speaking role, but sometimes in a consulting coaching role, and other times through books or videos or podcast content.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I love what you do, and I know you do so much. I know you're really big on teaching principles, and one of the things I know, you call it the core 4.
Mm-hmm.
And you say that we're creators, connectors, contributors, and coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Will you just give us a little background on that, and maybe just give us a little snippet on each one, on how we're creators, how we're contributors, how we're connectors, and how we're coaches?
So this is not the book I'm currently writing, but the next book.
Okay.
We're jumping ahead here. If I get to it.
Okay.
So, and in fact, this one I'm writing with a couple other people, and one of them reached out to me yesterday and was like, all right, let's get going. So, I'll just give you the honest truth. As I look at, I'm a Christian, and so when I think about leadership, my example that I come to is Christ.
Okay.
I started to kind of play with just this idea of like, okay, if we're supposed to be like Christ, what did he do? And in fact, I asked my kids that, and like, who was Christ? What did he do? And they're like, what do you mean? And I said, like, what did he physically do? And they're like, well, he created things. He would help people.
Mm-hmm.
He would be with people. He would teach them. And the more I thought about it, those 4 attributes, those 4 activities is what he spent his time doing. So I don't know how much I'm going to write about that, to be honest, in the book that I write, but that's where the idea came from. So I'm just sharing that with you, being real about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's how I see that. So if he's the exemplar, but then as I really thought about it, said, okay, what actually brings me a sense of fulfillment? What brings joy in my life?
Yeah.
It is when I'm creating something. It is when I'm connecting with other people. It's when I'm contributing or serving others, and it's when I'm coaching. Like I can't come up with an activity that makes me truly happy and fulfilled that doesn't fall in one of those 4 categories.
Right.
And so conceptually, this was just like this model or this idea that I was like, no, that's where we should spend our lives. And then in my work, I work with leaders, and I'm like, well, that's what leaders should be doing.
Yeah.
Like, a leader's role is to be a creator, solution oriented.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to solve problems, create systems. How are we going to achieve what we're going to achieve? Their goal is to connect with their people. All of the studies that you look at is people stay and leave based off of connection with the leader.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Right.
agree
And
more,
so
yeah.
it's how well are they connected? And I spend a lot of my time. My latest book is called Partnership is the New Leadership. The basis of that approach is the way that you choose to lead will impact the way your people show up.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They should be contributors. We should be service oriented. We should be servant leaders. We should go out and help other people. Yes, it helps other people, but service serves the server in huge ways. There's studies that show that you're healthier when you serve other people.
Yeah.
There's studies that show that you're happy when you serve other people. And actually, there's studies that show that people view you as a leader when you serve other people. And so I think that's an important thing to do. And then leaders are coaches. We're all coaches. And when I'm sure when people hear that, they're like, I'm not a coach. Like,
Right.
I'm on this podcast listening to Todd because he's a coach. Well, the reality is we are in situations where we coach friends through things. We mentor, we give advice, we listen. I mean, sometimes, Todd, I'm sure your role is you just listen and you don't offer a solution, and they're like, oh, this is exactly what I need. And you're like, I did nothing. I'm just a listening ear.
Yeah,
Sometimes that's what a mentor or coach needs to be.
Sure.
But what I've found is that when I'm not operating in those roles, I don't feel nearly as productive.
Yeah.
And I don't feel nearly as purposeful.
Yeah.
And so the premise of what will be eventually a book, this is a promise.
Okay. Mark his words right here. You heard it first.
So here's the reality. I was on a podcast with two really good friends, and they brought up this Core 4 idea, which I put out as a video somewhere. That's probably where you found it.
Yeah, I found it on a video. You presented it, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is good stuff.
Okay, so I agree. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And I shared this, and Becky Higgins, one of them, who was hosting the podcast, said, if you don't write this as a book, and I jokingly, I just said, well, let's all write it. And because in my mind, I was like, this is another idea that I don't know when I'm going to get to. And they're like, all right. Like, and we started to like really explore it. But I do think that from a purposeful standpoint, I think when we can operate in that Core 4, it changes things for us, regardless of our role, regardless of what we're dealing with. And I mean, a lot of your work, you help people who are going through tough times, who are dealing with addiction, some other things. I think that Core 4 is essential to find a roadmap that helps you to stay on purpose, and to really find something that engages you and fulfills you, so that you don't feel that sense of void and try and fill that with other things.
Yeah. Wow. I love my first thought as you're saying this, this eliminates, if you do these 4, and do your best at them, it eliminates selfishness. Because the world I'm in, addiction is the most selfish thing on the planet. When one is addicted, I will lie to you. I will cheat you. I will steal from you, get what I want. And it's about me. Yeah. What I love about this Core 4, if you think about it, it's all about reaching out and doing something for someone else. Like you said, and I love the honesty, be like Christ.
Yeah. That's a great distinction. I think that's why we're here. Yeah. That's the hard part, and it doesn't make logical sense. I feel like I'm lucky in the fact that I was raised with religion, and sometimes people don't feel that same way about religion. That's fine. But just the simple fact that is a natural thought process for me that I've been raised with, to find happiness in me, I need to give to other people. Right. Which doesn't sound like the right approach, right? It's like, well, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. But the distinction I think that we start to find over time is that we're talking about like moments of happiness versus joy and purpose and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And you can't find that internally. You have to find that reaching out to other people. And even like the most introverted people who say they don't enjoy people. Like I've worked with some IT groups and stuff. Not that that's fun, but
Right.
but like I always come at leadership from the people side of leadership, and
Sure.
they're like, no, we're IT guys. Like that's not us. But even that,
Yeah.
there's something in us as human beings. We need connection.
Yeah.
We just do. We crave it. And you're probably seeing this more than I'm seeing this. But 2020 has been hard on us because of that.
Yeah.
People
Absolutely.
and I don't think we've seen the full ramification of it. I think there's that like hitting us now, but the longer this carries on, the harder that becomes because we're not getting that fulfillment. And the unfortunate truth is probably the most isolated of us all, the ones who need it the most are the ones who are suffering because of it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make this political. I'm just saying
No,
the
you're good.
reality. I have some strong political feelings about it, but the reality is like we need that in our lives.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. In my world, we'll say connection is the opposite of addiction. When you're never more fully alive than when you're connected. And when someone's an addict, right, what do? They isolate. They shut off all the healthy relationships. They isolate from all of that. And so, I mean, what you're saying is spot on. And these same core values, I mean, would work in the world I'm in, you know, and
Yeah.
that's why I pointed this out, because
I like it.
when I was studying up on you and looking at everything that you do, there's so much we could talk about, but for some reason, these four stood out to me the most, because one of the things I tell my clients is that you're powerful beyond measure, you're a masterful creator, and you have the dignity to choose. Those are the three that I'm constantly, you know, I call that the core, you know, foundation.
Yeah.
So basically we're kind of saying almost the same thing here. But
Well,
I just love that.
I love that you found that, because I do think, you know, I mean, it makes for a deeper conversation in something that I think is really important.
Sure.
I do think that most of what's said, like I think truth exists, right? I think that you and I probably teach similar truths, and
Sure.
and we say it in different ways, and I think that that's part of the process, is because sometimes the way that we say it hits the people the right way, and they can hold on to something. And I think one of the things I always try and accomplish, I think master communicators take complex ideas and make them very simple.
Yeah.
And so trying to find how to do that in a simplistic, memorable way is part of my job, right? And you might spend, I spend years thinking about how to teach a specific concept in a way that sticks with people, and maybe it's the right story, or maybe it's the right wording, or the right catchphrase, or whatever it is. But those concepts, when people can hold on to them and therefore use them in their daily life, become more powerful.
I love that. Now I'm going to ask you a tough question, because I know there's probably many things you could say here, but throughout all your leadership training and your mentoring and coaching and everything that you're doing, what's one of the constant principles that you're always like? Is there something that you stand on every platform, principle wise? And I know that might be that's why I'm saying it. There might be 10 of them. I don't know. But is there one that stands out to you that you always are making the point?
Yeah, I think conceptually, I believe that I work with so many different audiences, so many different groups. I'm not industry specific. It's not one specific group. Okay. So, in a given week, I might be speaking to leaders in a retail space, and then, salespeople for insurance, and then car people. Like, it's all over the place. I think that the reality is, as human beings, we're all in the same business. We're in the people business.
Yeah.
I believe that business is about relationships. And my favorite leadership quote of all time, I wish I said it, but I didn't. John Maxwell said it. He said, "You can love people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without loving them." And so all of my work, I come at leadership from the people side. I'm not your operational guy. That's not my expertise. And so I'm always coming back to this idea of we're in the people business. It's about relationships. It's about how do you really care? Do you want to connect? That impacts the way that you communicate. I spend a lot of time talking about that. Right. But conceptually, I think if we approach it that way, in that we understand the importance of connection, we understand the importance of people, and we value those people, to me, that's the basis of leadership.
Love that. Very well said. I saw one of your tweets. You said, and I think it was even today, greatness is not what you have, it's what you give. Again, it kind of goes along with that core 4, right?
Yeah.
Giving of yourself to someone else. Like, that's what greatness looks like.
Well, and you think about just the staying power of that. Like, so it's interesting. Last night I was having a conversation with my oldest daughter. She's 14. And we were talking about, I actually called her out on something like talking bad about somebody.
Oh, okay.
And she's a great girl, like way better than I am, as a human being and just competency, like all around.
Right.
And she kind of pushed back, and I was like, no, you're upset because you're wrong. Right. And then as we were talking through it, I told her about a friend. I have a friend in high school. I've maybe seen him 10 times since high school. Like, we're not super close.
Yeah.
But she met him recently because just an interaction we had. And I remember this friend, I don't remember him ever calling anyone out, like saying, guys, stop doing that, or you shouldn't say that, or we're better than this. I don't remember him ever like shaming anybody.
Right.
But I also can't think of a single time I ever heard him talk bad about another human being.
Really?
And she was like, that's awesome. And I said, Andy, the cool part about that is it's 20 plus years later, and I remember that about him. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Right. And she was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be that good. And I was like, I for sure wasn't. Like, I get that. But you think about what stays with people. It wasn't that he was, it's what he gave, like, or in that instance didn't, like, it was, it's the person, the value that he brought to the table. And just by a quiet example of literally not engaging in probably 9 out of 10 conversations as teenagers have is talking about somebody. Yeah. Like that we don't talk about concepts that often. We're usually talking about people. And just an awesome example to me. Right. And so I just think what we give, I mean, that's what's going to be talked about at our funeral.
Right.
That's what's going to be talked about. Like it's the interactions, it's the things we leave people with. It's when we reach out, it's when we go beyond ourselves. I love what you pointed out about that core 4, because I just hadn't thought about it this way, that it's every one of those ideas are selfless. If we could, now we're never going to live where we aren't selfish in a lot of our day.
Right.
But if we could live where we were more selfless, even just like a small percentage of the day, the impact that has on everyone else. So every week I put out on social media a Monday morning mantra. It's like a little video, just like a saying, like here's an idea for the week kind of idea. I've been doing it for years. And it's kind of like, I used to do it where it was just a quote, and I walked into certain people's offices when I went to work for their company, and they had like my Monday morning mantras all over their office. I'm like, that's cool. Now that they're video, I don't know what they can do with them, but
that's cool though.
A couple weeks ago, I put one that's the mantra was reach out to one new person every day. And the reason I did is because I have found in the last, I don't know, couple months, that when I send just a text message, just touching base with people, the response I get is like, oh my gosh, I needed this.
Right.
Like, and like the first couple shocked me. I'm like, oh, I had no idea they were going through something like that. And then I was like, oh, everybody's going through something like that. Yeah. And so I just think if we can step outside of ourselves, and that's the funny part about that core 4 is it comes back to you so much more. It brings so much back to you that you end up better for it in the end.
Yeah. It's like the law of you got to get, if you give, you get.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's so much more than you ever can realize until you start doing it. You'll be able to experience all this amazing things that come back your way. Beautifully said. You know, there's so many questions I want to ask you. What does a day look like for you? And outside of your profession, obviously that keeps you so busy. I understand that. But like, what do you do to keep yourself like centered and feeling good about you and feeling connected? And, you know, I know you're faithful in your religion, and maybe that's obviously a part of it. So would you share that with us?
Yeah. Great question. So there's things that I think we all have to find our own patterns and routines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, when you look at that core four, for me, connection with other people is part of it. But for me, connection with God is part of that too.
Yeah.
So prayer is part of my day every day. Some people might call it meditation or, but, and my wife, for example, she is big into meditation. She loves it. So, every morning she will do like a 10 or 15 minute meditation,
right on.
And it's been an awesome thing for her.
Yeah.
Exercise is an important thing for me. I don't know if you've ever heard of the concept of floor and ceiling goals, but like floor goals would be like, I'm going to do this at a minimum every single day. And ceiling goals would be like, this would be the ideal. Right. So I had a guy on my podcast. He's 74 years old. His name's Jim Cathcart. He's a speaker friend of mine. He's written some books and awesome guy. But at 74 years old, he does 100 push-ups a day. And he has for 3+ years. Wow. And I was like, well, I'm a wimp. Like,
right.
So August 1st of 2019, I started doing 100 push-ups a day.
Okay.
So I'm almost a year and a half into this. Have not missed a day since then. So that's my floor goal. Like workout wise, I don't care what happens.
I'm getting that done.
And I have had days that I was on an airplane the entire day. And I landed at like 11:50 at night, and right there in the airport, I'm pumping it. Like everyone's walking off the plane, and I'm sitting there doing push-ups, and they're like, "That guy's weird," right. And he is. I agree.
He is weird.
So, but exercise is something that makes a big difference.
Sure.
For me. Connection with my family is an important part of my day, and before when I was traveling, that had to be very intentional. As my kids have gotten older and like my oldest has a phone, reaching out to her individually became something that like I could add to not just reaching out to the family.
Right. Yeah.
We do family prayer at night, and I can't tell you how many places and locations I've done family prayer, like on, mute in the middle of a busy airport or backstage right before I go on to speak, or like, but prioritizing that, that's right? Awesome. Making that something. And then I read a lot scriptures, for me personally, like daily, but then I'm always reading something in my realm, leadership, development, sales, communication, something. 'Cause I think there's so much great stuff out there. And a lot of times, probably most of the time when I'm working out, podcasts are part of that process. So I listen to great podcasts like yours and others, to try and, fill my mind with as much as I can that way. So, there's several things I do, but it's pretty rare that I miss that. The physical for me is a big one.
It's a big one. Yeah.
'Cause what I've found is that I feel like a lot of people look at physical like energy as this finite unit, and as soon as we use it up, it's gone. And what I've found is that we're more like power plants, and we're growing in energy, right? Okay. So the more I work out, the more energy I have, and I need like constant energy, like nonstop. I'm not big on sleep. I know I should be, but like I sleep less than most people.
Right.
But I just feel like I need to be going and doing. And so those are probably the main things.
Okay.
I don't, right now, my routine is different and off because I'm home and I have a baby, and like finding the balance of all of those things. Mm-hmm. So I'm not one that I'm like, every day I wake up at this time and this is exactly the flow of it. Most days it's pretty consistent, but there's some variance to it. But those things are important that I fit them in there.
Wow. Love it. That's awesome, man. And I have a son-in-law who does 200 push-ups every day.
Oh, gal. Yeah. The one up me. I got to step up.
Well, I know. And I'm like, I look at him going, dude, and I feel like I'm a wimp. What am I doing?
Well, no, I need to increase it, to be honest. 'Cause it, just like anything, right? 100 push-ups now is not hard for me.
Oh, I'm sure you can do it like just nothing. But
where I started and I was like, okay, sets of 20. Okay. Just kidding. Sets of 15, but now like, 2 quick sets of 50 is like cake,
nothing.
so,
awesome.
And there are definitely days, like if I'm getting in a better workout, there's lots of days that I'll do, maybe 300 push-ups or whatever if I'm like doing chest or something. But yeah, to have something that like, this is a minimum I'm going to do every day. Like, I don't care if I'm sick, if, I had COVID and it really wasn't that bad, to be honest. But, I still am going to do 100 push-ups, like just as what it is. And, maybe they're going to be slower or whatever, but you're going to get them done.
Very cool. Well, if there's someone listening to this podcast right now who's struggling, who is, wants to maybe do something like you're doing and be more disciplined in their life, or they're just having a rough day, I mean, what challenge could you give them right now to maybe break out of this rut that they find themselves in? Obviously, you've shared some great principles that they can do already, but is there something specific of that one person who's listening to you right now who's struggling?
Well, first off, I want you to know that you're not alone in that. We all struggle. And I also think that we often get in that place where we feel like we're just stuck and we're alone. And the reality is there's a lot of people who are willing to help, who want to help, who would be there for you. But I have found in my life the easy is not the right word. The quickest way to resetting my mindset is to serve someone else. The fastest path to me not focusing all of my attention and thoughts on myself is to throw them on somebody else. I had a cool experience
awesome.
that. So several years ago, I did a TV segment where I talked about the benefits of service. It was like around Christmas time, and it was on a local TV station around here. I had this lady who reached out to me a few months later and sent me a note on social media, and she was like, "Hey, I've been following you and I appreciate your stuff." And, and we kind of went back and forth, and she's like, "If you're ever in Arizona, I really would like to meet you. I have something I want to share." And as fate would have it, it worked out. I ended up meeting her. She came to a speech that I had there, and we sat down for like 5 minutes before the speech, and she goes, "You changed my life." And I was like, "I don't know you, so I really doubt it." But she had gone through a divorce. She said she couldn't get out of bed for like 3 days. She just was stuck. And she ended up in like this rabbit hole of YouTube. Like, I don't know where else she went, but somewhere she watched that TV segment.
Really?
And it reminded her of a truth that she knew, that when you serve other people, it makes you better. So she got out of bed, she got dressed, she grabbed her 13-year-old daughter who had been fending for herself for 3 days and said, "Get in the car." And they drove around Arizona until they found a homeless shelter. They walked in and they said, "We're here to serve, put us to work." She said she went to that homeless shelter every day for the next 90 days.
Wow.
And I was like, "Yeah, you for sure changed your life. That was not me."
Right.
And it changed her. She's like, now I go once a week. I have been for a couple years, and like,
that's powerful.
Her life was totally different. But it's hard to just consciously change your paradigm and go, okay, I need to focus in a different direction. Sometimes just you got to physically do it, and the mind will follow.
Yeah. Great advice. I think I couldn't agree more. When we give away, it goes back, we get it back. We truly do. Well, thank you for sharing that. If those who are listening want to reach out to you and get to know more about you and find out more about your leadership courses and things like that, what's the best way and where can they find you?
Yeah. TyBennett.com is my website. On any social media, you can find me under the same name. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah.
If you just look,
for sure.
if you can spell my name. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to connect. I'm pretty active on social media, on almost every channel, except for Snapchat. I've never used that. I don't know how, but,
I know. I'm with you. I have no
but
clue.
Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all those. So, yeah, I mean, I love to connect with people, love to hear from any of you. And, if I can be of service, happy to do it.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ty, for taking some time today in your busy schedule. And I really, honestly, it's an honor for you to be here.
No,
like I'm sitting here in the office with you and I'm like, man, I got Ty Bennett in my office. This is really cool.
You got to aim higher, buddy.
But again, no, you could be doing 1,000 things today. So thank you so much for being willing to do this. It really means a lot to me, and I know it's going to mean a lot to our listeners, and that's you giving it away. So thank you so much.
Well, I love what you do. I love that that you're putting this out there on a regular basis, and obviously the impact of this is growing. You know, as you see the number of people sharing this and loving it and subscribing, and I think that's a fantastic thing.
No, thank you. Well, thank you, Ty Bennett. Please reach out to him, tybennett.com. And obviously, he's an open book, and he's shared some amazing things with us today. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Please listen to this, obviously, and share this with others that you may know that may need a little boost. And, you know, those core four, you know, creators, contributors, connectors, and coaches. I think if we kind of live in that area in our lives, man, we're going to be reaching out, and it just hit me so hard that I think that takes away selfishness. We become selfless, and I love that. And Ty, thank you for your influence on me and this world. You're an amazing guy, and I know you've heard that before, and I know you're a very humble guy at the same time, but we do appreciate all that you do and being a light in this world right now.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the conversation.
But thank you, and thank you, listeners. Until next time.